From the Blind Ability Studios, it's Wellness Wednesday with your hosts, Beth Gustin and Robin Ennis.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wellness Wednesday. My name is Robin Ennis. I am a licensed clinical social worker in Colorado, and I am with my co-facilitator, Beth Gustin, a licensed professional counselor also in Colorado. As Beth left off in our last episode, today we're going to talk about seasonal affective disorder. I don't know if a lot of you have heard about it. Some people may think that it's not official and it's just a under the table kind of phenomenon about feeling more gloom or depressed during the holidays. But there really is a disorder that takes that into consideration because a lot of people do feel more depressed during the winter months, as Beth mentioned in our last episode, which tends to start in October and ends around March or so, the springtime. And that's because that's when we have the daylight savings, right? That the hour changes and it tends to get more dark outside and less sunshine. And people who need to be outside more or need that level of sunshine to make them feel better tend to be missing out on that. And it's something that they feel like they're lacking. Did I hit that right, Beth?
You did, yes. And some symptoms of seasonal affective disorder or SAD, you can have sadness, you can have low energy, lack of interest or loss of interest in activities that you used to enjoy. You might oversleep, you might eat more, just different types of symptoms of depression that we typically see with other types of depression, but we only see them this time of year. Days are shorter, it's colder, it's darker, we don't have the sunlight as often or as long throughout the day. And so that creates seasonal affective disorder.
With that said, noticing a pattern. The pattern has to be around at least 2 years, right? To figure out, hey, I'm starting to feel this way every year for the past 2 years around this time. I wonder what's going on, so that you can be able to go to your doctor or find a therapist to be able to problem solve the different symptoms that you're feeling. It could be because of seasonal affective disorder, or it could be something else. If you've had a traumatic event or the loss of a loved one during the holidays, it could be a culmination of things.
It can be, and there's also a number of treatments, and not a number, there's a few. There's light therapy, there's antidepressants, and of course there's traditional talk therapy. And so finding what's going to work best for you to help you feel better during these seasons of fall and winter and around the holidays. The key is do what works for you if it's healthy.
Right. And what light therapy is it creates that illusion of sunlight, right? So trying to have that substitute to try and make you feel better that way. And so that's why a lot of health providers will engage in light therapy for those clients that they feel have seasonal affective disorder. And it has shown to be very helpful.
So there is not a whole lot to say about seasonal affective disorder that we haven't already said. We thought we'd give you a 2-for-1 today and completely switch gears and talk about should you or should you not set those New Year's resolutions.
That's a good shift. So you're feeling depressed. And one way to try and help alleviate that is, okay, what do I want my new year to look like? What are some goals or some aspirations that I can start a clean slate with and be able to move forward so that I won't feel like I'm stuck in the midst of my feelings that may seem a bit heavy?
Right. And there's a few different schools of thought out there around how big of a New Year's resolution should you set and who actually keeps New Year's resolutions. And, there's a lot of talk around this topic. And I personally think if you're going to set them so they're achievable. We hinted and talked about SMART goals and things like that on this show around a specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-sensitive or time-bound goal. Because if we don't set measurable goals that we can actually tell if we've achieved or not, we tend to set resolutions that never get started, or we never finish them or complete them or meet them. And that can make us feel more depressed. And so I think if we're dealing with depression and trying to set new goals for ourselves, it's extra important that we keep them achievable. And if you achieve them, set another one.
Or if you haven't achieved the goal to the level that you want to achieve, who says that you can't start over or keep going? Try to cut yourself some slack if you're not as far as you want to be with your New Year's resolution. That's why I feel a lot of people give up on New Year's resolutions, because they feel like they're not as best as achieving the goal that they had set. And so making it manageable. But again, too, going back and reevaluating, goals can be changed, goals can be modified, making sure that the goal fits for you along the way. One thing that I tend to do is, because I am a person who I don't keep New Year's resolutions. So I decided to do a theme for the year. So I don't know what my theme is going to be for this year, but one year it was a theme of gratitude. What can I be grateful for each day? Or a theme of positivity. How can I show positivity towards myself? And so that tends to be more manageable, because I can be more creative in what I choose each day to look like. So I tend to do themes or mottos for each year. And I also tend to get a buddy. Last year, I teamed up with 3 of my friends and we agreed on a New Year's theme. So that tends to be helpful.
Another approach you can take is maybe a theme of kindness. We all know that helping others helps us feel better. And so thinking about how can I show kindness throughout the year, and making that your theme. And little acts of kindness can go a long way. I myself also do not make and keep New Year's resolutions. I have some general goals for the year. I do write them down at the beginning of the year, but I don't set super firm, I'm going to lose 25 pounds in 6 months type resolutions. I don't do that.
Do you find that more helpful, Beth? Because I do think that it's good to have general goals and SMART goals, like you said, throughout the year. But I also think that having a motto, like you said, a theme of kindness or whatever it may be, is less pressure for people to try and stick to this quote unquote ideal that they need to live up to.
I agree with that 100%. And as I'm thinking about this, what I do is I will make professional goals for myself. I don't make as many personal goals for myself. And so I tend to put more pressure on myself on a professional level and less pressure on myself on a personal level. I don't know why that is. I was just kind of thinking through that as we're having this conversation right now. But I've noticed, depending on the area or aspect of my life I want to work on, depends on how I approach it. If I write down a goal, if I make it a SMART goal, or if I just say, this year I want to focus on.
That makes sense. And actually, as you mentioned that, I started thinking too, especially this past year, I wonder if, I don't know if I do the same either, but I know I do set a lot of professional goals for myself, and mainly because I try to evaluate which area in my life that I want to focus more on. And so for me, I tend to focus more professionally because I feel like that's an area that I struggled with the most for a long period of time. And so I want to be able to make sure that I keep moving forward professionally and that I don't limit myself or let other people set those limits for me.
That makes sense. And something else I'm thinking about as we're talking about setting goals and resolutions, there's different areas of your life you can focus on. So do you want to focus on spiritual growth, your health, your family, your career, your leisure time? You can kind of break your life into different categories or quadrants or aspects. And so no one says you have to focus on every single area of your life all at one time. In fact, it's probably recommended that you don't do that, because if we focus on too many changes at one time, nothing gets done. But you can just pick one area of your life that you would like to make changes in and focus on that.
Right. I do think that would be less overwhelming as picking one area. So for me, last year was professionals. I will start to ponder and think of what other area that I want to focus on, whether it be spiritual or religion or my personal life. That's something that I'll try and figure out. Yeah, I like that, dividing it into quadrants to focus on.
I was thinking, can we have more than 4 quadrants? Because I think I named 5 spheres of life. But either way, yes, you can break it down into different categories and pick what makes sense for you. And there's no right or wrong way to do this. It's finding what method works for you. Some people are very driven and like to write everything down and have step by step and cross them off. And some people are just like, I think I'll work on this year. And they don't go any further than that. But in the back of their mind, they know that's what they want to work on. And everything in between. So don't box yourself in, don't put pressure on yourself, and find ways to hold yourself accountable for the things you do want to change that work for you. The buddy system is great. I use that a lot in my life as well. You're writing things down is helpful if that's what you like to do. So be as creative as you want to be in how you choose to set and reach your goal.
Yes, exactly. And again, making sure that whatever you choose is for you and not for anyone else, because you'll be more likely to carry out that particular goal or aspiration if you are fully behind it.
I agree with that. If someone else sets goals for you, you're not going to reach them because they're not your goals. So make sure that whatever you do, it is your goal for you.
Right. I had an interesting conversation. I'm not sure if any of you have had this before, but where you end up calling a service provider, somebody that offers some type of service, whether it be phone or TV or whatnot, but the conversation tends to derail in a different direction. Well, that happened for me yesterday. I called my cable and internet provider and we talked about the issue, which was they overcharged me. So we talked about the issue for 5 minutes and then 30 minutes was completely on something completely different. And she was asking me more so about how I navigate, how I watch TV or things like that. But the reason I bring this up is because then we started talking about goals. And so she mentioned, well, just make sure that you continue to be happy in your life and get out more and share your happiness with other people and don't let other people's limits or barriers define you. So I thought that was very interesting discussion to just keep in the forefront that whatever it may be moving forward, just keep in mind the aim. Well, at least my aim in life is to be more happy and to be able to give back in areas that I feel like I can give back. And that may look different for different people, and that's okay.
I agree with that. I think that's really well said. I think it's a great way to wrap this podcast up. Just keeping in mind what works for you and make sure it's your own.
Exactly. And we want to hear from you. So what New Year's resolution or New Year's theme / motto have you all thought about or you want 2023 to be? Drop us a line and we want to hear from you.
And as always, we welcome your topic suggestions and your feedback, whether it's good, bad, or otherwise. So please reach out with whatever's on your mind and we will talk to you next year.
Until then,
it's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap. Until then, I like that.
You can send Beth and Robin a message at 612-367-6093 or by email at info@blindabilities.com. They'd love to hear from you.
When we share
what we see through
each other's eyes, we can then begin to bridge the gap
between the limited expectations and the realities
of blind abilities.
abilities.